In this episode of the Beamable Game Dev Podcast, I sit down with Chris and Brandon and we discuss the launch of Beamable 1.0. Let's jump into it. What is happening? Welcome to another episode of the Beamable Game Dev Podcast. Today, joined by Chris Hanna, Brandon Bateman. How you guys doing?
What up? I'm fantastic. How are you, Josh?
So good. I'm really excited. We're going to talk about 1.0. Like, here it's happened, right?
Yeah.
It's happening. Right?
The big one. Yep.
The big one. So, I don't know if I've like, is this, we're just going to kind of just chat about the road to this point, maybe some stuff that we're kind of looking forward to in the future, and just Brandon's here as the hype man, and so but Chris, I'll kind of let you kick it off. Like, maybe there's a few things that you want to just kind of highlight. I do want to let people know, if you guys want kind of a deep dive into what 1.0 has to offer, beamable.com/blog. We've got the write-up there. The other video is there. And so, yeah, but I'll kind of just let you take it away, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, the road to get here has been long, for sure. Let's probably dig into that. But I think now that we're here, we have these really cool features. Micro storage is out, which kind of rounds out the Beamable Cloud product. Like, now you can have microservices. You can write code in C# and push it out to the web, and it just works. And now you can also store data using Mongo. So before, we didn't have that storage capability. You could still do a lot with that product, but now you can do way more. Like, adding state is a pretty big improvement. And then, oh man, there's a lot to talk about in the 1.0. There's an entire new LiveOps portal. We'll just say that. There's an entire new self-help system in the editor called the Beamable Assistant that we're going to expand as we go forward. It's effectively hints as you go. Like, hey, did you know you could be doing this better? Some stuff to unpack there, obviously. There's a whole new way to start theming your prefabs. So you pull in some prefab off the shelf from Beamable, like a leaderboard, and now you can customize it in a way that's going to be a little bit more durable than in the past. Probably forgetting something. I wrote them down, but I'm not looking at that list. Oh yeah, and we entirely changed how the internals of the SDK work. So now you can have couch co-op in your games, it's a little bit more of a technical conversation, but the entire low-level SDK has evolved. So I don't know which one of those we want to talk about first, but there's a lot to discuss.
I mean, are we getting a little paperclip that's going to pop up and be like, hey, here,
Clippy, yeah. Beamy's coming on.
Yeah, actually, the team of animators is working on it right now. Yeah, it's going to...
It's just kind of the A that pops up from Beamable.
It's a slow one, though. It's from the bottom right of your screen. It's just a really slow, here it is. No,
Fantastic.
It's not that. It's in the top of the editor now. There's a little notification number that will say 1 or maybe 0. And so it's pretty non-intrusive. That's what it is. And if you click on it, then there's some it's almost like static code analysis, as well as some configuration analysis that we do. And we kind of look at your project and look at how you're using the Beamable integrations and say, hey, we noticed that you're doing this, maybe you're using content in a specific way that really wasn't designed to do. We can give you a write-up with a full description on why that's the case and links to docs and stuff. And in some cases, it can even be sort of this magic auto fix of for example, in the microservice section, if you're not running Docker, which is a dependency of ours, Docker is a way to run containerized apps. If that's not running on your machine, it won't work. So there's just a little button in there that says, hey, it's not working. Why don't you just click this button and we'll start it for you. And I think the one other thing that's cool about that is that it's extendable. So it was written and designed in such a way that if you're a team and you've got your own Unity project with a lot of maybe specific configuration that is maybe easy to misrepresent, you could write your own hints and inject them into that system to let other people on your team know, hey, this isn't how it should be structured.
Very cool. Very cool. Brandon, you were going to say something a bit ago, and I cut you off with Clippy.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. I'm pretty pumped for everything, but I know Chris just spoke a lot about the assistant, which is rad. Something we were talking about just before this this video was the bus system and the Beamable USS system for styling and theme management. That's something that Chris and I talked about well over a year ago, and we started prototyping and trying to say, like, how would we do this? How do we make this system real easy and accessible to our game makers? And it went through a couple of iterations. It never really quite got there. It got prototyped and then it was pulled back. But then more recently, building up to 1.0 here, it really came up and it really just got fleshed out. And it's so rad now to see it in action and what you can do. This really adds a ton of power to the product to be able to just take our prefabs and style them to your game and to your company with whatever logos you want, which is huge.
Yeah, in trying to design that feature, I think the reason it got so close in the past and then we always had to pull it back was that, like, it's a really, really hard problem to solve. Like, one of the things that we say Beamable does is provide drag and drop off the shelf prefabs, which is like, on some level, it's like, oh, that's just talk unless you actually have that. And like, we do have that, but when you drag it, it looks a certain way and it's not going to meet someone's design criteria. And short of just going in and tweaking the prefab in Unity, like, you could always just do that. You could just like use Unity's design tools to change it. But like, if we were ever going to update that prefab in the future, or like if you wanted to style one time, like you want to make a set of decisions, like here's my primary color, here's my company logo, and then drag in like 10 off the shelf prefabs. They should all share those design decisions that you've already made. So like, that's kind of where we're getting to at this point. We're like, I don't know. We had a lot of, when we were talking to customers about this, a lot of people said, like, it can't be done. Like, what you're trying to do is too hard and like, it'll never work. So it feels really good that we finally released this into the wild. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of feedback and we will address it and get through it and make it better. Yeah.
We just sponsored Playcrafting's global game jam, and some of the teams implemented Beamable, and one of the teams used the like the login feature, right? But when you clicked it, you opened it up and it said Beamable all over it. You know, like it was this was prior to 1.0 releasing, right? So it's having gone in and played that game from that jam, and then, you know, I was like, oh, cool, Beamable stuff, right? But I could totally see moving forward, you just want it all to be, you want it all to flow, right? You don't, we don't necessarily, we don't want, we want it to look all congruent, like it's all part of their menu system and everything like that. And so that's the direction this is taking it, and it's super cool. As I was editing the video, poor Chris had to keep telling me, like, you're not selecting the color wheel, and I was looking at the video going, I'm trying to see where your mouse is going, and then I find, like, I had it stretched out too big and it was coming up over in the corner. So you guys can, if you do go and check out the video, though, you can see exactly what we're talking about here and how you can customize like a leaderboard.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Just like you said, like, oh, it was styled with Beamable, and that's fine. The beauty of this all is you can get going fast. You can rapidly get these features into your game and just drag and drop them. And then your art can come later. You can get your flows going, you can get your windows going, you can get your features in there, and then come back and have a whole pass on that style and make everything look exactly how you want to make it look.
Yeah, and like, just to keep on piling onto this, like, when we were talking to customers and like would-be partners and stuff, a lot of people point out, like, UI is such a personal thing. I think there's two things about UI. One, it's really unique to every game. And two, not a lot of people like to make it, which produces this weird void of, like, it's not super fun. It's not like the most fun and unique part of a game, but it is very stylized. And so, yeah, like being able to pull something off the shelf, the Beamable prefab, and use it, and then make these style decisions. One of the things that you're going to do implicitly is trust Beamable with some of that UI. And I just want to throw it out there that, like, we are working really hard to make sure that this UI is good. So like with the 1.0 stuff, we've totally rewritten how a lot of the underlying UI rendering works. So we actually use a signed distance field rendering technique, so that we can, like, if you have a button, now all of a sudden that button can have a border, it can have a gradient background color, it can have like a cool shape, it can have rounded edges, it can have a drop shadow. There's all these things, and that's just one game object in Unity, and you get that render cycle for free instead of having to render maybe lots of different game objects to produce that same effect. So like, we're trying hard. And then all those things are stylable. There's obviously there's still a long way for us to go to like make it perfect, but I think 1.0 is, we're here, and this is the product offering, and we're gonna take it forward.
Yeah, it's a fantastic start, right? And it does just make it goes with our motto of we fight for the game maker, and we want people building games faster and getting them in the hands of the gamer faster, right? And that's what's happening here. Like I was super stoked as I was editing the video and seeing all the new stuff. I was just like, oh, this is really rad. Like really, really rad. I feel like the hype man right now. I'm taking Brandon's job.
No worries. There's a lot to be excited about. And not only, like, we just talked a lot about Bus, we've talked about the Beamable Assistant, but the portal too. The portal is just phenomenal. Again, I was talking with Chris a couple of days ago, and I was just really getting into it. It's not something I had been digging into a lot over the past couple of months, and just going into it, I was like, wow, this is the best live ops portal I've ever experienced. I can't say that I've seen them all, but this is far and beyond what any other thing I've seen at the company is. And that's awesome for us, because we've gone through, this is our third iteration of a portal. Technically fourth, I guess. Actually, fourth iteration of a portal now. So from all the games that we've made and everything we've gone through. So it's so rad to see this new one as a kind of culmination of all of those, and combining everything we've learned over the years for live ops and live ops portals and the UX around that, and just throwing it all together into this one place. It's so rad.
I love hearing that. Like, even just, I mean, jokingly say the hype man, but like there's legitimate excitement here, right? Like seeing the fourth iteration of something, like, there's the passion behind that, and just we want to make it as easy for the game maker as possible. So I love it.
I think one of the things I'm like relieved and excited about around the new portal is that, like, we have a dedicated web team for it now. We're like, in the old iteration, like, we built that portal to suit the needs we had as sort of a fledgling startup company, and like it worked. But now, as we've transitioned into this, like you're talking about the road to 1.0, like there's a lot of growth when you look at that road. And I think this new portal is like, yeah, not only is it an awesome new product that does way more stuff than the old one did, but it has the team to back it up going forward, which is like half the battle, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's been cool just watching the company grow, week after week, seeing more interviews, more people joining the team. It's been awesome watching all that. So, again, if there's anything else you guys want to, touch on real quick, feel free. And I will just, again, direct everybody to, beamable.com/blog. You can check out all of the details, and
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't touch upon microstorage a little bit more, because that's also been a promise that we've been saying we're going to deliver on for quite some time. Yeah,
massive. Yeah, that statefulness, as you've already mentioned, Chris, having statefulness in your games through microservices is massive, and like you said, everyone's been asking for it. It's been a huge feature. So yeah, for sure. Tell us all about it. Chris.
Well, I think like coming at it from a pretty technical perspective, like you're writing code, right? If you've used our microservice feature in the past, you know that you get this class file and you have these functions that are effectively going to be hosted up into the cloud, and you can call them from any of your game clients. And that's just C# code that you write. But, you're a C# developer, you're in there, you might want a class variable. And for the longest time, that hasn't worked. And I mean, it still doesn't. Full disclosure, you can't just have a class variable. And the reason for that is, again, kind of highly technical right now, but let's say your game makes it really big and you're servicing like thousands of requests per minute or something. Like, Beamable's automatically going to horizontally scale that service for you so that you can meet all that incoming traffic. And that means that if you've written code that's like based on the variable on one node on your server cluster, like you've just produced non-deterministic code. And like if you call your endpoint based on the random like load balancing traffic that happens, different things will happen, so we've kind of disallowed that in the design. Like you can't really do that now, which poses this big question, like, well, how do you do state management then? And in the past, you've been forced to either not do it, use your own solution, or really what we said was like Beamable offers state management through the player stats and through the player inventory. So if you can shape your problem into those mechanisms, then you're good. But not every problem like cleanly goes into player stats or player inventory. And I think everyone knows that really intuitively. And so now we finally introduced Mongo databases. So right there in the Unity editor, you can create a database effectively, hook it up to your service, and you never have to worry about connection strings. I think that if anyone's ever worked with databases in the past, like as a developer, one of the biggest pain points, in my opinion, is like, how do I connect to this darn thing? Because you lose access to it, or it's not running, or it collides with a different database on your computer. Like all of that is just handled for you. All you have to do is say, I want my service to have a database. And then there's a line of code that's like storage.database, and you get access to it, and you now get the raw Mongo driver. And like you can take all the skills that you've learned from using the raw Mongo driver anywhere, and you can just use it right here. And boom. Now pretty much any problem you can think of that needs storage, you can represent there. So I know that's a lot to take in, but it can't really understate how cool that is, and like how big of an add that was from not having the ability to store things to now you can store whatever you want with pretty much no assumptions. It's the Mongo driver, so you can do whatever you want. And we're using Mongo 5, which is new stuff.
And just like with our microservices, one of the massive parts about it is this is all hosted by us. We create, like, all you have to do is deploy this out of Unity, and we're putting this all into our AWS account. We have an account that will spin up the ECS cluster for you. We'll manage your containers. We'll manage your storage containers now and everything. It's all done on our side, so it's super easy. You don't have to have any special accounts, any hosting, anything like that. Beamable handles it all.
Yeah, and in 1.0, it's there now. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is fantastic. Hey, thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your busy day to sit down and chat. And I mean, I may not understand everything you're talking about, but I love how technical we're getting. Honestly, like I think it's fantastic, especially for those that are going to be listening. That this is stuff they're probably going to be excited about. Very excited about. So. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. We are most definitely excited. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Beamable Game Dev Podcast. If you would like to learn more about Beamable or talk with other devs, head on over to beamable.com/Discord. And if you'd like to try Beamable for free, head on over to beamable.com/free.